Oh.
double insomniacs on the show, which is always good for running.
Yeah.
Is Jared an insomniac too, or is he more in the category of he needs?
He makes me sick. He goes to sleep at like 10 and he's asleep in 5 minutes, and you have to sacrifice a virgin and have like a volcanic event to wake him back up. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's amazing. No,
I know. He makes me. It's terrible. I'm his spouse, but sometimes I want to punch him in the neck because I'm like, how did you fall asleep so fast?
Well, like Molly, we've been together, 10 years. And you've been together 10 years, so pretty awesome there. We've been together 10 years. During the sort of, I guess, the dating process or whatever, or the pre-dating process, like it was known that I was an insomniac, and so she used to stay up till like 4 or 5 a.m. with me. The sun would be coming up and we'd still be talking.
That's adorable.
It's been 10 years and she seems to have forgotten that I'm an insomniac. I'm just like we
you knew this. It was on the list.
Yeah, it was on the list of my crazy. Like, because that's what a relationship is like you go like, I have this crazy, and you like check it off, and then they're like, oh, and it's like, you're like, okay, well, I have this crazy, this crazy, this crazy, and you see if it balances out.
Yes, exactly. It's a give and take. It's like, okay, look, I do that with friends too, though. It's like, okay, look, I'm going to be upfront with you right now because I ain't got time to meddle around. You're either my friend or you're not. I am almost 30. I'm getting sick of this shit. So these are my things. If you can't dig, then you can go. Like, if you dig it, then I'll be your ride or die friend. But otherwise, I don't have time.
That's amazing.
It's really not, because people get super nervous.
Oh, I don't know. I was just thinking about this the other day, because we're all in like quarantine and we're all in lockdown, and my son Colin, like, he just saw kids across the street when we kind of moved into the house at the beginning of the year. We moved in, and he saw these kids across the street, and he's just like, Dad, can I go play with them? And like, we didn't know what to do with COVID, and we don't know anybody, and you're like, no, Colin. And I'm just like, and we've kind of now learned our neighbors and who's been like diligent with their bubbles and stuff, and you practically can't stop kids from playing. If you say you go outside, it takes them like 10 seconds, and then they're like playing with the kid across the street.
Hey, new friend, let's share germs.
I mean, one, yes, they'll just like, and so I'm just like, Colin, go take a shower. Like, immediately, because I'm just like, immediately when he came in the house, I'm like, go take a shower. But like,
don't touch anything.
But what was amazing to me was like, just like, I wish to be your friend person, and like, just the way children can just do that. As an adult, I'm neurotic. I like, you talked about like you're upfront with your friends. I'm like, okay, what's your, like, I'm a little bit the opposite of where I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, what's your deal? Like, I'm just like, kind of like, because everyone's got their thing.
Everybody's got their thing. It's true.
Right. And Rocky your boy showing up saying, yay, Tulilia. And he drops 1,000 RDP to remind everybody that Chat Gang ain't nothing to mess with. Promote all the art. Get your husband back in a Blood Bowl, or do it yourself and show him how it's done.
I mean, I could try it. I've never played Blood Bowl ever. It looks like fun, though.
Have you ever played like XCOM or Final Fantasy Tactics? Because there's a little bit of a skill. No, all right.
No, I was not a nerd until I was 25, 24, something like that.
I'm sure you were a nerd. You just didn't know it yet.
I wasn't. Okay, so I guess my journey to nerdism starts this way. I grew up in sports, and that's it. I had 2 sports a season. I was poetic. Okay, so talking to me, I sound like an inarticulate troll. That is not how I write.
I'm the same.
I've had teachers go, you didn't write this. And I'm like, bitch, I know on the third sheet right there that this is with the word, this is how you use it. And, people don't equate me with articulate. And that's fine, because, I kind of come across as an idiot, which is fine.
No,
I like to do that way.
No, I'm actually similar. See, what it is like when I have a notepad or like something in front of me to write, I can focus all of the words that are just smashing, and like it's like an electron cloud in my head of just like all the thoughts and words are firing out. So when I have to talk to you, they just like
yeah.
Well, I have a show called AOS RantCast, of which everyone is joining us tonight on episode 73. I am, of course, the most dangerous man in Age of Sigmar, the magical Mr. Mephisto. I'm joined tonight by fellow Twitch streamer Tulilia and the better half of Razor Tree Productions.
Maybe the prettier half. I don't know. You should see him in a short skirt.
I would pay good money for that. actually, or
Dude.
at least good biddies, on Twitch.
So I do have a photo of that. On our first date ever was Halloween. He wore a sexy nurse costume.
Nice.
I was a joke for Halloween. I was well hung, so I was like in this nice attire with a noose. It was a joke. He comes as a
pun,
freaking
a dirty pun. I love it.
Nurse. Yeah, and so our next together thing after our kids are a little older and they're not coming with us is Peter. He's gonna have a shirt saying Peter, and he's gonna have like orange Cheeto dust everywhere, and I'm gonna be a pumpkin. So the adults in chat that got that, kudos. But we love dirty stuff. But he was a sexy nurse, and I was like, okay, look, let's be for real for just a minute. Your legs are better than mine. I don't know if I could date you.
Yeah.
It ended up working out 10 years later, but like I had some doubts at first.
Well, that's it. Kind of we were talking about during the cold open is the compatibility of your crazy with your friends and significant others, and we've both been with our respective others for 10 years now, and Lulu and I essentially got together on Halloween, and so you were dating him that Halloween is when that first Halloween 10 years ago.
That first Halloween 10 years ago, it was really awkward because he was in a band, which isn't the awkward part.
It is. It is.
It can be. Like, I'm not musically talented at all. I can sort of sing, I guess. My kids prefer me to their dad, but like, I'm not musically inclined. I play instruments, but I can't do any music by myself. He and all of his friends were like super talented, and I was like, holy crap. But so we go to the band member's house and they're all hanging out and having beers, and I'm still underage because I met Jared when I was 19. We started dating when I was 19.
Right.
So yeah, I was underage. I wasn't allowed to drink, and all these other girls are there, and there is 3 of the band are single, and they're all trying to get with the band members, and it was very awkward. I was just like, oh my god, this is so I don't know anybody, but Jared was there the whole time and being super friendly, and I don't know. He's got this energetic personality. You wouldn't know that he's an introvert, but he is. Something that we kind of clicked on. Again, the weird balances. It's like we're both introverts and we both have this like battery. It's like, okay, my battery's gone. Deuces, bye.
Yeah.
But
oh no, see, that's one of the things where Molly, she is the extrovert. She is going crazy in quarantine right now. Like she needs to. When we used to live in Milwaukee, she would like. She calls it like being a succubus. Like she would need to just go and like sit like in a place where tons of people are around and like absorb their energy. Yeah. I'm like I've been like work has been stressful. I've had to be social at work because it's dealing with contractors this week because it's all the project work, which means I have to go and I have to talk to you. And I'm like, I love my job because I have a work truck. That is my office. I drive it someplace. I do the work and then I leave and I never talk to a human. But I've had to, so I'm getting home drained and I see Molly's beautiful eyes light up and she comes bounding over to me and I'm like, you want to talk? And I'm just like, I'm like
5 minutes.
I'm like, I just, and it's actually kind of amazing because we both process things completely differently. So I need to come and lock myself in my office, usually do something creative or like just read or veg out, like, defrag, exactly. And we don't process the same way. So like there's a give take there where it's like, okay, I have to save like, $10 of my social currency every day, no matter what, for her because, she's worth it. So then I have a question. You being 2 introverts, do you guys have your respective days where you actually just like shut down and you're just kind of cool with it, like comfortable silence type thing? Or
funny story, before quarantine, that was what we did. So we have 3 monsters. They're beautiful. I love them to death, but they're monsters because they're little. Little boys are wild, and I did not know that. I had a brother that was not that way, and none of the boys I knew were wilder than me. So I was like, "Alright, dudes are chill." They're not. They are not. But so on Tuesdays is mommy's day to go be mommy, to go be an individual, to go sit at hoity-toity Starbucks and not look at people, or to go to the park and just stare off at nature for however long I want. Jared gets home at about 5:30. So at 5:30, it's like, deuces, bye. I'm going to go do whatever it is I want, to defrag, to do artistic stuff, to go be social if I want. And he would get Wednesday. So we allotted each other days because you need time, and you sometimes, you know, if something's important to you, you make time for it. And just because you're in a relationship, just because you're a parent, your identity does not disappear. Like, I'm Chris the mom, Tulilia the mom, the wife, the whatever, but that doesn't mean I don't get some time. Like, you need that or you go insane.
Well, this goes to your point you were talking about, where like you have all the labels on your box, right? Like
Yeah.
like your
This is your box, and you have a million different labels.
Right, right. It's just cool because like that ties into a little bit of like the Warhammer, which is I think, like talking about like sort of relationship balancing, and I think that also maybe is integral to how the whole, the Warhammer couple maybe works, or the nerd couple or whatever it is, or sports couple, whatever your thing is. By the way, and I just want to reset this real quick. You said you weren't a nerd until like 25 or so. I'm going to disagree because you were into sports. You said you were into 2 sports, which is like being into 2 different games.
No, I was into a season.
To a season. Oh, double. Yeah. Okay, so you would have been like the 4-sport athlete or the 4-star athlete or whatever.
Yes, I would finish up with one practice and go to another, or, there was always something going on.
Wow.
So, yeah, like basketball and softball were my 2 mains. My dad was stationed in South Korea, and they had no idea that I was 14 at the time. They came out to watch our game, and they were like, holy shit, this girl. And I was like, oh, by the way, 14. So I was about to get a scholarship at 14 playing softball. And then they were like, oh, wait, you're not old enough. And I'm like, yeah, dude, no, I'm not. So then, I go to play. I lived in Alaska, and I don't mean anything against all of the Alaskans out there. You were all lovely.
Anchorage is gorgeous.
It is gorgeous. I lived 7 miles away from there. But it is a place where you go to be, I like to call it the oubliette. You go there to be forgotten. Like, there are not a whole lot of talented individuals that stay in Alaska, because it's a hard place to be. It's a hard place to like keep your groove. It's a hard place to find opportunity. So I went there, and my basketball stuff failed, and then health problems came up, and I was told, you can't play sports or you will die.
Wow.
And I was like, so that's when I sort of became a nerd. My dad took pity on me because I guess they thought it's this long mouthful of an issue, where it's basically that your athletic people just die spontaneously on the court because their hearts give out. And they thought I had that. And I was like, well, that's terrifying to hear at 16, which is when my depression was really horrible. So I was like, all right, so my life is shitty, and now I'm going to die. That's great. So sports ended, period.
Well, that was your passion for sports to a season. It was
since I could remember. Like, I had, especially basketball, like all my good memories were basketball or softball, or I didn't really like soccer all that much. I don't know. There's, sports I liked and sports I didn't.
Ouch. Cut me deep. I was soccer, swimming. I didn't play football because I couldn't afford the equipment fees, and we were that proud poor family that would refuse to take the. So the coach offered to pay our equipment fees or waive them or whatever, and my grandma she refused. So I played soccer because cleats and shin guards are cheap at Goodwill, and swimmer because the skivvies the speedo it's provided for you by the school because it's a uniform. I think it's like $5 to sign up or something. No one wanted to be a swimmer.
Really?
I had heard tertiarily that my dad, who was like this mythical creature to me when I was like 14 and I hadn't met him yet. I never met my dad, never knew who he was. I heard that he was a swimmer from my mom, so like that it's like it just empowered anything you hear about your dad when you're when you're a kid,
especially when you're an impressionable little boy.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, this so I heard he was a swimmer and stuff, so I'm like, oh, well, then I'll sign up for swimming. And so those are my 2 sports growing up were soccer and swimming, and then everyone did like cross country or whatever.
Yeah, track and cross country. I have very terrible memories of cross country.
Well, you do cross country in the fall as a soccer player for your cardio, so that when you go into
that makes absolute sense.
Into the spring, then you're still up on your cardio. So and then swimming was kind of that weird, started a little bit late because it started during the school year. So it started, most of the sports tended to start a little bit before. So it started during the school year, so it overlapped into like the sort of that mid period where there's usually like one winter sport. I can never remember what it was because it was so wrestling maybe was the winter sport. I don't know.
Yeah, that was when I was playing softball. We always had the wrestling dudes. None of them were cute, but they were always in the other part of the gym. And I was like, oh, look at them, half naked, making weird grunting noises. Cool.
Nothing against the wrestling. I did
No,
pro
I was a wrestler.
I did pro
loved it.
wrestling. Yeah. So
You did pro wrestling?
yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah, for
like backyard type stuff.
No. We made fun of backyard wrestlers because I was old school, which meant I was trained by a guy who was very into technical wrestling, chain wrestling. Essentially the Americanized version of what lucha libre is. Like
That's the best thing ever.
So like Dean Malenko, like would have been like a kind of like some would have been in that old Benoit before he got indoctrinated to the WWE style. That sort of like technical. You don't give respect, which is what it's called when you see wrestlers do a couple moves and then they both like look at each other and they go like that. It's called the technical term for it is respect. You don't give respect in anything less than 5 moves. And so I'll watch WWE and I'm just like, they just respected after 2 moves. Disgusting. like gross. But yeah, I was working at Ashley Furniture Company, which is everyone has, I think if you're in North America, you know about Ashley. In Arcadia, Wisconsin, which sounds like a mythical city. But it's nowhere, Wisconsin. I kind of had to stop going to college the first time because I didn't realize that FAFSA was money I had to pay back. I thought it was like stuff, and so I had to take time off, and like it just got weird. They didn't cover all my full tuition, even though I was literal independent at that point, emancipated adult, and so I had to go work in a factory, save up money, and I'm living in Arcadia, Wisconsin, playing. Like a little bit later on, I would discover I would play World of Warcraft, but at that time, I had nothing.
That was my first nerd thing.
Yeah, I had literally. Oh man. There's if you write this down in the notepad that I don't keep, World of Warcraft tangent. So I met this guy named Todd. He worked on one of the other lines, and I liked wrestling as a guilty pleasure because my mom loved wrestling. If you could imagine this like ginger like Gen X like lady with the huge curls like loving.
That's my mom.
Yeah.
Big red hair.
Yep.
Into wrestling. That's my mom. Well, she's not as into wrestling as yours, I'm sure, but
no. My mom loved wrestling, and so it's one of those things I held on to as a piece of her when I left or whatever. But she'd tell me stories about meeting Andre the Giant and all this stuff, and how he would sit on.
He was a doll of a human.
Oh, and she was like, oh yeah, I sat next to him on the VIP or whatever VIP event in the sort of like the proto indie days where like you're all wrestling under this sort of loose conglomerate before the WWE came along and kind of like ruined how wrestling used to be. Ruined how it kind of changed how wrestling used to be. And she sat on. She said he sat on 2 folding chairs. And like he just pounded like just ham-fisted like beer, and she met him. She said he was like an absolute doll, great guy. So I don't know. Anyway, like so I meet Todd. I had always been more of a sort of hidden nerd, if that makes sense. I was the edgy punk kid or edgy goth kid that like I had the journal with all my sketches and poetry, and I sat long black hair, way too many way too many zippers and chains on my clothes, like that kind of guy, right? We talked about So I was always kind of like I had to hide my nerdness because otherwise people would find out that I'm not a cool alt kid or alternative. Yeah, so I always had to hide that, and so I always hid that I liked wrestling. But a game came out on the N64, No Mercy, and it was a video game, and so like with my video game friends, I was like allowed to like it, and so that was so I always liked wrestling. I had the stories of my mom, and so I met this guy named Todd, and he's like, oh dude, like your long hair, like. I used to not have the dad bod, so it was really life and stuff. He's like, "Oh man, you should like come train with me. I'm learning to wrestle, and fine. I'll kill weekends, sure." So I learned to wrestle. Actually, Eau Claire company. That was training him, and came up alongside him. I was green, setting up rings, hoping to be on the cards. You'd set up the ring and you'd be around the promotion, and you would hope someone would not show up because it's winter in Wisconsin. So like they book some dude from Milwaukee and he can't make it to Superior, Wisconsin. Like, put me in. Like, and you wrestle for no money because you're just trying to establish yourself. Because eventually, if you job long enough and you're green long enough and you set up enough rings, you can get paid gas money to wrestle.
Oh.
Yeah. So I did that for a few years. And
that's actually interesting.
Yeah. It's the Dark Angel.
To be shirtless in the middle of winter in Wisconsin. I didn't know y'all cheeseheads were that crazy.
Oh, we are. Have you not seen Packers on TV in the sub-zero temperatures with like their bodies painted green? And
I joke, but I lived in Alaska, so I'd walk out in booty shorts and a tank top, being like, "It's snowing. It's nice and warm."
Yeah.
Like, no, y'all are crazy, but it's my kind of brand of crazy.
Right. No, it was mostly, we were usually wrestling in gyms, like a school gym or a bar. Sometimes if you were like, your promoter was like the sweet promoter, you'd get to wrestle at a VFW or something, which was like, because they had high ceilings. So those were the best. Gyms and VFWs, mostly it was bars though, because it's Wisconsin. And you know, you're the weekend, instead of, they could book a band or they can book a wrestling show, and some of the crazy bars would book the wrestling promotion. So
that's awesome.
So like, sorry. I think this is the deepest I've ever dived on like the Dark Angel Damon Andrews, which was my wrestling gimmick. 3 people might remember me once. They'd probably remember Ginger, which was my cross-dress gimmick. I came out to Barbie Girl and was a heel. So Jared and I have that in common. We both look great in a dress.
Yep. And he gets an inordinate amount of joy being a heel.
Oh,
so you have that in common too.
Oh, I love it. I'm the most dangerous man in Age of Sigmar. There's a joy in sort of being a dark mirror, you know? Like, and I would never do the cross-dress gimmick these days. I just,
you'd step on way too many toes.
It's just, I don't know. It's good humor punches up, right? Like you don't need that, but it's, I don't know. There's just being a dark mirror for people. I remember if it's a bar, I get to swear. So like, shut the fuck up. Like, it's just like getting in people's faces. Like, you don't like me? You don't fucking know me. And like just yelling at people. Or like when it's a gym and you've got kids around, then you're like, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. And like just going up to a kid. Just immediately pick out a kid in the audience. And then like when you're about to do a move, like to the face, you just like, and just like get the heat. Oh, so much. Beautiful. I miss it a little bit. I've got an open invite. Or if I ever want to get back into it, I'm like, I'm 35 years old and out of shape. People who tell you that wrestling isn't a sport, go run the ropes for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Do it. Hit the ropes. Take a few bumps. Tell me it's not. It takes no athleticism.
No, I think Mick Foley, he's broke his spine and a bajillion other things. It's like, how can you say wrestling isn't dangerous and it's not a sport, that it's fake? It's like, it may have predetermined outcome, but that doesn't mean anything in there is totally scripted. It doesn't mean it's not dangerous. People can still get hurt. Oh, yeah. I mean, people take a lot of risk, and also that's really hard on your body.
Oh yeah.
Muscles and everything.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've my friends that have blown ACLs, like sports medicine's gotten a lot better now. Yeah. But my friends that have their lives, they're done. At 18, wrestling for no money, no insurance. If you're lucky, you can fake the injury, or you can take the injury, go into work on Monday, and fake like you got hit at work, and that's the best you can hope for in that life.
Yep. Oh Lord.
And it's, I mean, man.
That's brutal.
Yeah. Sorry, but to reset this a little bit. See, I think it's kind of interesting. Like, I've always thought about, like, because I live this weird life, I've always thought of sports as the different type of nerd. Because, you're from Texas, right?
Yes.
So
born and raised, but military brat elsewhere, and then by choice came back.
Right on. So like Texas A&M, how do you feel about them?
I'm conflicted because my mom is a fan of Aggies and my dad is a Longhorns fan. And if you say anything against anything, you walking on eggshells one way or the other.
Okay.
Personally, I don't watch much football or anything like that. I don't like watching sports. I like playing sports.
Right.
Watching it is like dangling this carrot. Hey, guess what you can't do? And I'm like, screw you.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like A&M, but they have a lot of rough years.
I'm just I do that to set up. Hey, chat, who's your favorite Space Marine chapter? Like,
Ooh,
they're the
Blood
the...
Angels. Dude, they are so dark and depressing, and they basically have Space Jesus. What is it? What's
Mephiston? Yeah, Mephiston. Yeah, or yeah,
or Sanguinius.
Oh
like,
yeah,
he's
Sanguinius.
A tragic freaking dude, and like the Blood Angels are tragic and great, and there's just so much angst you can taste it.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's fantastic. But like basically the sort of like the mentality of like a sports fan and like where the paraphernalia, go into the minutia of the draft and stuff like that. I'm like, it's
like LARPing.
Yes.
Like you're LARPing to go to this thing and you keep track of all these stats like you're in D&D. Like I get it now, especially it's okay to be a nerd and it's okay to be a sports nerd. And there's obviously, we have friends who are like, I'm into sports. I'm like, you're a nerd. Nerd, because you know the stats on dudes from 10 years ago. Guess what? I can recite, D&D 3.0 as well, or 2.5 or THATCO and that shit. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. Is like a nerd by a different name. I just think of like one was the socially acceptable nerd. And like reality kind of warped around that, but now that like internet culture and boom, we're getting back to it. World of Warcraft. I think World of Warcraft really was that pivotal point. I'd say I think it's twofold. I think it's the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think that made it really okay to be like comic book becoming socially acceptable. Already happened with Batman, like even the Keaton, even going with like Adam West. Like Batman's always kind of been pop culture. But to get people to care about a raccoon that shoots a gun, like that for me was the moment where I'm like, you're all nerds, like all of you.
Welcome to the club.
Like welcome.
Here's your sticker.
Yeah, exactly. And but World of Warcraft was one of those moments where, for growing up in the gamer side of things, the secret gamer, and playing like original like Ultima and beta testing Dark Age of Camelot and doing stuff like that. By the time people were playing World of Warcraft, I noticed this sort of changing of the guard. It went from always nerds like me to everybody was playing WoW. Mm-hmm. And when did you jump in on WoW, or what got you into World of Warcraft?
So the health thing, you keep playing basketball, you gonna die.
Right.
So I got like I don't know if you can see it. There's a scar right here on my chest. I had to have a loop recorder implanted in my chest. So full on surgery. Had heart problems that turned out to be less bad, but still bad, coupled with asthma. So my dad, I had all this done and I was out of my mind with being upset and just like, where does life go from here? My dad took pity on me. He was like, so you have friends that like the World of Warcraft. Because I did. I never fit in with any one stereotype, because some days I wanted to wear my Jinkos, some days I wanted to wear these cute preppy clothes, some days I wanted just a big fucking sweater and no bra and just pant like tight jeans. It didn't matter. Like I wore whatever the hell I wanted. I never fit in. So I had nerd friends that were super into D&D and super into World of Warcraft, and I was like, that's cool, but I don't understand it. Well, these friends were like, if you can't play sports, how about you play our games? And I was like, okay. So I asked my dad. And I guess, spoiler alert, I found out he wasn't my dad when I was 22, and he treated me very oddly growing up, not like bad or anything, just like, you're not my kid type thing. So I totally didn't expect him to kind of cave into this. I asked him for World of Warcraft because I was like, whatever. And then he gave me a lot of grief because he was my coach for a lot of things, like he was the sports influence. I was the son he wanted type thing. Because my little brother, he's a good dude, but he's like super introvert, super not into sports, nothing. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to be the boy, and I was. But then I asked him for World of Warcraft, and he goes, nerd. But then he gave it to me. It was right after BC launched. No, after Wrath, because he bought me WoW Vanilla, and then he bought me Burning Crusade, because I was like, oh, look at these cool little goat things. They run around and the dudes are like huge, and it was so weird. And like,
Drainy, Drainy, yeah.
I love them. I still play them. But then Wrath came out, and I had my friends. I felt like the biggest loser ever. They were sitting behind me, like right behind my computer chair. Okay, this is how you move forward. No, stop clicking that. no, stop clicking that. You're targeting the bad guys. You're going to get tagged. Well, what's tagged? Oh, shit, now we're all dying. Like, they sat behind me and kind of walked me through like you would a kid, which is, looking back, kind of embarrassing. And at the time, it was really kind of embarrassing too. But yeah, that happened roughly 16, 17, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
It was my first, like, and I had no idea what I was doing. Like,
Amazing.
I know, it was the weirdest thing ever. I was just like, there's a world in like the computer, because I'd never used a computer aside from like WordPad or whatever to do my computer homework and LimeWire. But like,
right,
the computer had this whole new thing. Like, holy shit, there are people behind the screen. And I met a whole bunch of new people on WoW, which was really cool. And they were all types of different people. Like, there were super nerds, like the friends I had. There were some super jocks that knew what the hell I was talking about. Yeah. Then there were like super science nerds, because I'm super into biology and super into that kind of thing. So they were like, yeah, dude, this and this and this, because I was talking about one of the herbs in Barons, which I learned what Baron's chat was, which was great.
And it's like something awful, and the pre 4chan, just, that was Baron's chat. It's
the best. Like, you learn all the new Chuck Norris jokes, the bad ones, and you learn.
Oh, dude, I remember I was in Baron's chat when Dumbledore died. Was like spoiled. I was in Baron's chat on a flight path, and Snape kills Dumbledore just in Baron's chat, and I'm just like,
what? Okay, that person has a special place in hell.
Like, I'm just like, I'm just like flip my keyboard. Like, what the fuck? Like, Snape, like, I wasn't a big Harry Potter nerd, but like, I was like, Snape's a bro, right? Like, Snape's gonna be a bro in the end, and then someone's like, Snape kills Dumbledore. I'm like, what the fuck? But Baron's chat, like, it puts, I don't know, it just like, it puts hair on your chest. I don't know what the you've
on your chest.
Yeah, it gives yeah. There's no way to describe. And when they diluted the servers out and they did a bunch of stuff, like, Baron's chat was there. But if you hit the heyday of Baron's chat, it was just there was oh man, I remember,
it was like a train wreck, horrifying and beautiful all the same time. Like, you don't want to look, but you can't look away.
I don't know if I'm a better person for having experienced Baron's chat, but I am a changed person for having experienced Baron's chat.
You are changed. For the betterment or the worsening, who knows? But...
yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I remember those days. I don't know. WoW is. I mean, now I don't think we're like it's nearly the cultural phenomenon it was in those times, because it was sort of the only game in town. I think it was that first time we saw all those people from those different walks of life.
Yeah.
Like, truly just, I really think that was it's happened twice. It was that and Pokemon Go. But I think those are the sort of two exact moments in time. And you talk about like the sort of digital video gaming sort of bringing society together type moments, maybe even if before they're ready, which is when you get Baron's chat. But like, like the first time as sort of an apocalyptic Baron's chat event, and then the second time as a utopia with Pokemon Go for like one precious week. One precious week, the world was utopia. We lived in a utopian society. Even I don't even like Pokemon either. Oh crap! I just lost followers. Like I don't particularly care for Pokemon, but I jumped on that hype train. Like
dude, same. It was fun to go out and see people. I'm like, okay, I don't have to interact with you because there's no interaction between characters, but look, there's people over there. I feel almost like I'm socializing without having to. It's great.
Well, I mean, that's the beauty of it. Like, the extrovert gets to, all caps blast Baron's chat and yell, and the introvert gets to pick their engagement on their own time. So like that's the other thing, is you're getting those different energies that are able to interface in a meaningful sort of compatible manner.
Yeah.
One of my friends used to joke that World of Warcraft is a chat room with a video game simulator attached to it, and that's why the number of times you just stand around like Iron Forge or wherever
there's trade chat
and just jumping and like talking, and that's it. You're talking in guild chat, and all you're doing is jumping. I don't think we'll ever get that back until maybe VR technology takes off. Perhaps it'll go Ready Player One, but we have voice chat now, and you know, Discord and stuff like that. So we're having Discord servers and stuff. But yeah, there was Ventrilo and TeamSpeak. But the actual being sort of that full breadth of communication, that's been diluted down again and kind of stripped away. But,
yeah.
Sorry. So how do you go from World of Warcraft to that was the gateway drug into full nerdery, essentially?
That was the gateway drug. Because like I said, it opened this whole new world of there's something other than sports. There's something, because I wrote poetry on my own, like in my dark little journal.
It's a thing you do for you, right? Like you kind of
like,
hope a couple people read
poetry.
it. Yeah, you hope a couple people read it, but you mostly do it for you.
It's like, so I had, if I was mad, wrote poems, that kind of thing. But so it was the first time I was like, oh, there's like this whole new side of humanity. Because, I'd been around the world and, oh, you're so refined or whatever. Really getting into people is kind of, I think, what helped. So you get into nerds, you see all these different people all over the world that are really neat and really cool. And then they open up other things. It's like, well, this is World of Warcraft. How about D&D? This is D&D. How about, Dresden Files or, whatever. So shortly thereafter, my first job was at a comic book store, which was with mega nerds, like the bad.
Oh yeah, the neckbeards, right? Like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I worked with the neckbeard. He was the most fucking frustrating individual I'd ever met, but he was a totally different person than I'd ever met. And all of the customers were what you would have imagined. I don't mean to talk down at all, but a lot of them didn't bathe or anything like that. And as a professional, you're supposed to treat everybody the same. So then you meet all these other people that are into comics, because I had to know what I was selling. So I'd read the comics on the shelves. Oh, yeah, and then the Star Wars thing came to Alaska, and they sent me there because I was the only half decently not trollish woman in the store. So they're like, okay, you go, you're the face, you sell lightsabers. I was like, all right, this is $2,000 a pop, but sure, why not? And then you meet a whole slew of other people.
Oh, the sweet fiberglass ones that don't break. Yeah.
Yeah, no, these ones were the nice ones. And I was just like, I don't know how people are going to buy these. But they did. And it's like, so it started, World of Warcraft. And then it's, oh, well, what about D&D? And what about comic books? These are really cool. And I'm like, holy shit, pictures, like books you can look at after being a kid? Weird. So it was neat to find comic books. I think I have a few other ones.
Is that where the art began to develop? Like the actual, we've got some of your art sitting up over here, and of course,
actually,
the main thing on you do on streaming is, of course, your art streams, and there's some of the videos that get shared to like Razor Tree Productions where you got the sort of speed drawing. Maybe we circle back up around to when you got into art and you continue talking about comic books for a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So comic books had nothing to do with me getting into art. Art was actually this really funny. So I have severe anxiety. Bad, which is funny because I was stuck in a mental institution for about a month because I was having such crazy problems when I was, I think, about 17. So all this stuff kind of coalesced at the same time.
Yeah, like you just got a lot piled on you all at once.
It was a lot. So I spent about a month in there before they were like, yeah, so you're this and you're that, and this could develop into anxiety and blah blah blah. And I was 17, so I knew everything, and I was like, y'all are dumb. They weren't dumb. So anxiety was, some people bounce their foot, some people tap their pencils. I drew. I made notes, or I highlighted my homework or whatever. So what started as kind of like you write notes when you're trying to pay attention to focus yourself. I draw. I just absent-mindedly doodle something and I can hear what you're saying.
Have you been drawing that while you've been doing this? That's fantastic.
Yeah.
See, I scribble and do spirals.
Yeah.
I scribble spirals and a lot of swords. I draw a lot of swords. Well, I drew this one during a Soulbound.
That looks like one of the Muppets.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was during the Muppet show. Yeah, I doodle. Well, my sketching sucks. That's fantastic, by the way.
Well, it's. At first it started, like kids draw because they think it's fun or because their parents think they're talented or whatever. So I guess at first it started differently, but it quickly turned into a way to relieve anxiety.
So it kind of leveled up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you're anxious, you're depressed, you're feeling isolated. Well, people happen because, high schoolers have no privacy whatsoever, even though they think they do. People are always looking at what you're doing. So I'm almost 6 foot tall. I've been that way forever. People are like, well, what's the giant doing? She's sitting down. It's like, oh, well, she's drawing. Well, look at that. It's like, oh yeah, no, I'm not an artist. I just draw. And they're like, oh, well, no, you're an artist. I'm like, no, really, I'm just anxious and I draw. So it, you draw when you're anxious or depressed or you're bored or whatever. So it's not, I guess I'm artistic. My mom was artistic and she says that I get it from her because she's modest like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know. It started as just a thing I did, and then it was a thing I did while anxious, and now it's a thing that I do because I actually enjoy it. It took a while. But...
Well, there's, I mean, something we talked about, I think, before we went live is I like to think of it as like talent and skill. Like you can be talented at something, like naturally talented at drawing, perhaps you get it from your mom. Skill is when you develop it. And so I usually try to, like, when I see something that's good, like we've got like some of your art here, I'll cycle through, maybe talk about it in a bit, but like these emojis, like this Isabella is awesome. This is one of the coolest things I've seen on the internet.
Well, that's really very polite.
This is awesome, but you don't get here with talent. This is skill. This is talent applied with a deliberate attempt to push yourself or get better at it, or passion driving, pulling you in like directions and stuff like that. Look at these hair. Look at the hair. This is awesome. The line work on this hair is fantastic. So, yeah, I mean, so I guess maybe a little bit of the I had it flipped a little bit. You were already doing the drawing. You kind of leveled it up because it was helping you in almost a therapeutic sense. Yeah, and then then you see this visual art medium. You're in an art store or comic book store, and go on. Sorry.
And then the internet happened to me for real. And then I see all these other artists, and all these other artists are doing very well. And then you feel terrible about yourself because you're like, wow, my art doesn't look like that. So then you try to put a little bit more effort into it, and then a little bit more. And then you're getting a little better, and you're getting a little less sucky. And then you're learning new techniques. Because I don't have any formal art training. I've been to college and they were like, you should do art. And I'm like, that's boring. I don't want to do that with my life. Art is fun. Art is like, I do it for fun. I do it for love of like people who commission me. I do it because I love looking at your character. Like it, I don't know, like, but.
So you do take commissions. What type of what type of stuff do you take commissions on? I know you've got some emojis in here, for Discord and.
Well, I do a whole lot. Like I have a ref sheet or on razortreeproductions.com/art is kind of, you'll find my sheet, but I'll do like, if you want your D&D character, I'll do a flat color of your D&D character full body, or you can order like a little bust. You can order chibis. I don't do as many. Yeah, that or Razor Tree did coerce me into doing the Anointed. But like basically whatever you want, you ask me, or I don't know, like people who ask me to do stuff, they frequently have cooler ideas than what I offer. Because like I'll offer you Discord emojis, and somebody bought all of my emojis immediately, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And it was so much fun to do her character in all of my emotions. I was just like, this is the best thing.
Is this the little cat girl here? Like, is this what you're talking about? No,
that's my Final Fantasy character. I have somewhere in my I am ashamed to say it, I'm on Fur Affinity. Also Twitter, but I did it of a friend.
Have we landed upon a topic I have no idea of what it is? Fur Affinity?
It's like deviant art for furries, but don't go there if you value your eyesight.
No,
like, make sure to click the there's so many lovely people there, but it's also crazy fetish art and weird furries.
I don't kick shame on RantCast.
No, I mean just put safe for work. There's a setting, put safe for work if you don't want to get like weirded out. But like I'm on there, and so I posted it on there. It's her character, but the furry is mine. I play her in Final Fantasy.
Hey, I went to a PonyCon once, and I've been to anime conventions, so I have a peripheral understanding that furries are a thing.
They really are.
Sonic Fox is a furry, and Sonic Fox is one of the best damn gamers in the world. So like furries are people too. Yeah. I'm not here to like make enemies of the furry community. It's not my thing, but y'all do you.
Yeah.
Like seriously. But
yeah, I learned about that because so I have a friend he's a week younger than me, and we were kind of born together. Our moms were best friends, and I found out shortly, roughly the same time as everything else happened, that he was a furry. And I was like,
Does
that mean you have like chest hair? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, honey. So he showed me the furry world, and I was like, shit, that's cool. Like drawing all these cool things. I was like, that's a thing? And he was like, yeah, what do you think werewolves are? And I was like, mythical creatures? He's like, yeah, but now you have wolf people and like, you know, all these things with. So my favorite part of the Draenei is their digitigrade legs, and furries generally have that. And I'm like, I fucking love drawing that, dude. It's great.
The
so,
little the legs, the little.
Yeah, it's like hold on.
She's about to sketch, and yeah, kicker here. Meph has been out nerded. I consider myself an omni nerd, but there's every now and then there's like something where
so just like digitigrade, where there's the 3.
Yeah, see, so I have opinions on werewolves. I think werewolves are freaking sweet. I think Marok Wolf. He's been on RantCast a couple times here. Loves wolves. He's converted his flesh eater courts now into wolves. He did a Beast of Chaos wolf army. I think he might have a fursona. I'm gonna have to ask him. Do you have a fursona? Is that okay to ask?
I do.
You
actually. Do. Yes. Okay. So first of all, most of my characters are weird demon things. Like my ref sheet has this weird eye. I call her, eyeball, because she's got like 5 different eyeballs. But I have like a wolf fursona that was kind of created out of Power Wolf, and then which is an awesome Germanic band, by the way. If you like power metal, check them out. It's great. But so I have like a wolf. I had for years and years and years. I had a cow, because cows are adorable. Like
they have best friends. Did you know that they can have best friends?
They do. It's so cute. Like everything about cows is adorable. Like. So that was my first, is I used to draw. So my friend he role plays as a female vixen, which, whatever, I'm not judging.
Do you?
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, okay, cool. So for like his birthday, I would draw him his vixen with my cowgirl, just like because we're best friends. It'd be weird if it was romantic. So I just, like dancing, singing happy birthday or whatever, like just drew him little pictures. But that was my first fursona, because I love cows. And then Power Wolf chick, because she has a lot of hair and I love her to death. Like I said, you can find her on For Affinity or even Twitter, I think. But yeah, no, I do have them.
That's is it I don't know, is it okay? Furry is something I'm utterly fascinated with. Bronies and furries are like two of the
bronies are super cool, dude.
They're two of the sort of the sort of subcultures of grand nerdery that I am utterly fascinated with. Like I've watched My Little Pony. I've got 2 kids. Jared. It's fantastic. I'm not brony yet. I've not worn like. I do have a favorite pony. It's Rainbow Dash, obviously.
Well, obviously.
I don't know why it wouldn't be. Rainbow Dash has the ego. I identify with the ego. Like, I get the ego.
I like Applejack.
Lulu's is Pinkie Pie. So...
Yeah. My Little Pony's awesome.
Okay, yeah, no, come here. Tell them your favorite. Okay, so funny story. I was watching them because my son watched them. I started liking it because I used to like it as a child. And then I was like, hey, Jared, guess what? You have to watch this. He was like, no, that's a kid girl thing. And I was like, So he sat there. I would watch it when we were winding down to sleep, and he became not a brony, but something quite close. So what's your favorite?
All of them.
I love you, Jared. No, it's there's a D&D episode, which is fantastic.
Yes.
Like Dungeons and Discords, I think is the name of the episode, and Discord is like the dungeon master, and it is there it became trendy. I know like the community did a D&D episode. A lot of iZombie did a D&D episode. It's like kind of trendy to do a D&D episode. But that has to be my favorite one, because it's just the progression of someone who thinks D&D is dumb into loving D&D. I think it's the most sincere. Like the iZombie one's really funny too, because like the cop is the one that gets like super into D&D and
yeah.
But yeah, no, I thought they did like a great job of like just the sort of like how it was like this sort of like, okay, all the ponies are away, we could play D&D secretly, like they had the shame in it, and then Discord shows up, and the sort of like friendship. I'm not a brony.
No, of course not.
But I can see the appeal. I truly can. And my son, I don't know if it was my son or my daughter got into it first, but our whole thing was like, there's no such thing as a boy show or a girl show.
Exactly.
No such thing as boy toys or girl toys.
Mhm.
Because I don't know, I just want you to grow up better than me,
Yeah,
without all my
like, we're
weird,
not gonna.
with all my
Yeah.
weird stigmas and, stuff like that. So we said that, and, since both of my kids watch it, and the whole family then, because like you say, you go to bed and put it on, it's the show you put on. And that was just that show. And the way I always had a cursory fascination in My Little Pony, but I had no idea really about it. I worked
the community, yeah.
Right. I worked one convention because at that time I still worked for a video game contracting company that like, if you ever go to a convention, you have like a video game room. I worked for a company that gave you that video game room. That's when I kind of got into shoutcasting and stuff, streaming and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So I worked. Hey, it's a check. We're gonna give them a video game room. They show up, do that, and I'm just looking around at like just
The
people.
hell are these things?
Well,
Yeah.
it was just I'd been to anime conventions, I'd been to all that stuff, and so watching people put their passion on display is something that I truly just think is the best of humanity. Just when people put their the thing that they love, and they're just like, and something like My Little Pony, where like, okay, D&D, you know what it is now. The general you. People know what D&D is. World of Warcraft. People know what these things are because they become pop culture. My Little Pony, furries, and stuff like that, they're still very, very niche communities. And to be that just boisterous and passionate, it was something I'm just like, there's something to this. And so when I finally watched it, I knew that I was like, okay, this is awesome, because Lily had fallen asleep, and Molly and I just kept watching it. We just kept watching it.
That's how it starts. Yeah, like, I guess tying into that, it's like people doing what they love, like with all of their. So you've seen the Facebook quote of this or whatever, the image that says it. It's like the people that shit on others when they're expressing the thing. Like, if your joy is touching small children, go die. But if if your joy is something like, I'm good at putting fursuits together, and this is what I love, and this is what I'm good at, it's like, go you. That is fucking beautiful, and you are the most gorgeous you could ever be in that moment. Like, when you are like the epitome of your joy, I don't know, that's people have a special kind of glow when they're that way.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's the best thing you can see. It's like people legitimately enjoying themselves is just beautiful.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I got to a point where, because I was that sort of like secret nerd for a long time. So when I went to college is where I really came into my own. That's when I hi, my name is Mephisto, I'm a nerd. That was when I first. That's actually when I got the Mephisto moniker.
Really?
It's a college nickname from Otaku Anonymous, which is an anime club that you went to, and you were anonymous, so you got a moniker. And I played. I played shit tons of Diablo 2, and
Diablo's cool.
Yeah, hell yeah. Still, that is my desert island game. Treat every episode like it's your first. Some people know this about me already if they've seen the show before, but Diablo 2, everyone's like, what's the game there's always that stupid desert island question. I don't know if that's my favorite game, but if I were trapped on an island with only one video game, it's got to be Diablo 2. That game, it never gets old. It's always fresh. I play it yearly. It's awesome. It's this perfect, like, sort of time capsule of a game that just it nailed Necromancer. It's coolest Necromancers have ever been in video games, still to this day. But yeah, so I'm sorry, I digress. But yeah, so college, and then that was when I finally like was able to like come out of my like not hide my nerdery as much, and started working the conventions to just make it a little. You start out as a volunteer, but then you get in, and then you can make money. So make a little extra college money. Precious every dollar is. Then I'll go watch the video game room and run a tournament for $20. And so I started to get this feeling like I was living weekends at a time, where I would go to the convention, and at that convention I would be around people who weren't ashamed to be themselves anymore. Yeah. Like, I remember people in full-on anime cosplay just screaming Hadouken or whatever in the video game room at, like, and, play acting.
Yeah.
And just, like, going, like, huh, You know, and something for me clicked in that moment. And I think that like furries and you know, bronies and stuff like that is just kind of that taken up to an extreme. Even weebs though. I mean, come on, weebs are
Dude, yeah.
sorry.
No, like I'm a full-on weeb.
Mhm.
Like that was another thing. That was another thing that kind of brought me into nerdism was the discovery of anime. I was like, dude, I've lived in Korea. How the fuck did I not see this shit?
Yeah.
Like they have Hello Kitty everything. Hello Kitty lip gloss, Hello Kitty fucking toilet paper. But they don't have a whole lot of anime in like the regular channels.
Right.
And then so I moved to Alaska and nerd friends introduced me to that too. And I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
This is the best. So I'd stay up until 3 a.m. because insomnia and just watch brand mass animes.
Yeah, the actual joke on my stream is that Mr. Meth is not a weeb. I have my own emoji. That's a tier 2 emoji for those of you if Twitch Prime and all that. The joke is that I'm not a weeb, but I have a lot of opinions about anime. Like, and so I'm being ironic. We're not quite on screen. My anime shelf's right this way, right here. It's right off screen, right on the side of the right off the side of the CRT. The one random live stream actually started stacking up the anime that I owned.
Oh wow.
Yes, I own DVDs and VHS tapes of anime. You can get at me, but I'm not a weeb.
Oh god.
I haven't seen a new show in I don't know how long is really why I say I'm not a weeb. I just don't keep up with it anymore. But when I was younger, it was again, I lived weekends at a time. I was just locked in that lifestyle. Can I ask, does Jared have a fursona? Can you?
I've made him some, but he doesn't like. That's not something that. And really, it's just to draw like pervy photos. But like, I draw SFW and not safe for work. But he hasn't like willingly made a fursona. It's more that I drew something and I was like, ha ha ha, here's your fursona, and he was like, alright. And I was like, cool, because now I'm gonna draw a lot of porn with this. Deal with it, and just kind of dealt with it. And he was like, okay, whatever, I love you, bye.
That's amazing. Oh man, fantastic. Wow. I lost my train of thought there though. So everyone drink if you're playing the RantCast drinking game at home. So yeah, anime. We talked about like the comic book story. You kind of had to deal with like the neckbeardy element, the art's ramping up, and you've been Twitch streaming now with your art for a while, about a year, you said.
Yeah.
And you also, I know you've played you play Warhammer as well. Where did then I guess in this sort of chronology of evolving into your best self, your best nerd self, where's Warhammer? Where did you get into Warhammer? Where did that kind of line up? What's your armies? You know, this is an AOS show after all, so I guess we'll talk a little bit about Warhammer right now.
A little bit. Well, so that happened about 3 years. So okay, got super nerdy, and then Jared started working at a theater, and nerdism kind of stuck to we're poor as shit, and you know whatever. So it was just kind of wow. And then we got into a better place and we had a family. So you have less time, but there's a lot more joy to have, I guess, whatever. And we made new friends with WoW, and we had like guild meetings and guild, dinners and stuff. And through this, I met one of my, I don't know, he's family. There's no other way to say it. Like, he's one of the best friends I could have ever made. But he mentioned, I think it was Total War. He was playing Total War, and I was like, those are neat. Like, what is that? And he goes, oh, this is like Warhammer. And I said, what? And I guess he played fantasy. So we showed an interest in that. And then one of the days that he was like, hey, check your front door. I was like, what do you mean? Are you fucking outside? Like, don't scare me like that. No, it was a big ass box of Stormcast. And I was like, oh, Paladins! Like, I love Paladins. So, and Jared immediately jumped on that. And he's so much better at tactics than me and all this other stuff. So he took over the Paladins. This was about 3 years ago. And so he had an army. Well, we live in, bumfuck nowhere, Texasville. And there's nobody here that plays nerd stuff. Like, I've looked. We're really kind of isolated here. So get your spouse into it. And I was like, all right, well, show me what you got. So, because I really liked the Paladins, but He got them first. So then we started finding me an army because it seemed neat. I was like, oh, a dice game. That's kind of fun. It's like D&D with your little minis, but they're cooler. They're better made. Like, I look at these models and I'm just like, oh, well, there's my models. But you look at these models and you're just like, these have personality. These are great. So I started looking at them and I was like, okay, so we have death, which is the best thing ever. But you also have these half-naked little dudes. And I was like, all right. So 50% of painting them is hair, which, I mean, look at any of my drawings. You know that hair is my favorite thing ever. If I can drown in your character's hair, I will die happy. So they're 50% hair. And then they have, like, no clothing. So I was like, okay, so these half-naked dwarves are, like, my OTP forever. I am the 5%. If there's a dwarf option, I'm playing that option. Like Dragon Age, always play dwarf. Literally always. So I saw these little dwarves. And I was like, okay, so they're naked and they have a butt ton of hair. I'm in. So, and then there happened the Fire Slayers. We
have found the target audience for the Fire Slayer players now.
Oh, yes. Hair and butts.
That's it. We have solved one of Age of Sigmar's great mysteries. Hair and butts.
Hair and butts.
If you're into hair,
hairy butts.
No, not hairy butts, but hair and butts.
Yeah, those two things together. Yes. So, but then I saw their giant fire lizards, and I'm like, ooh, these are even cooler. Then they have like keys, and frankly, like with Warhammer, I'm more into the lore. So if you have a lore, even if you're shitty models, like I played Fire Slayers when they weren't great. I played Night Haunt when they're wet tissue paper, and you sneeze with them and you destroy them. You know, like. But their stories are cool and it's fun to play them and it's fun to imagine being on that battlefield.
I love Catacross. I'm going to put Catacross in a little bubble up here so that I don't have to talk about Catacross. So Catacross is in the bubble. He's up there. All right. Lady Ullander is one of the coolest damn new characters that's ever been that's been released since the existence of Warhammer.
Bruh, she was my first painted model. Like I did it backwards where you're supposed to paint one of the shitty models. I was like, okay, I'm going big or going home, and that's my target. She's fucking gorgeous. She's the one that sold me on that. And then the Briar Queen came out, and she's like, you know, Allander 2.0, and she's adorable. But like, yeah, hold on, let me pick out my Allander because I love her. She's my she's what got me into death.
Yeah, right on. No, they are better separate. No, we've already established, Vanilla Sauce, that you do not combine hair and butts. It's hairy, hairness, and then butts. They're separate.
There we go. My Allander. You can't see her at all.
If you put your hand behind it, it'll show up a little bit better on camera.
Well, you can't totally see it, but she's like, this was my first painted model, and weirdly enough, I painted her right before Duncan Rhodes showed up because we had the Citadel down here, which is like the American version of the British like headquarters.
Yeah, Warhammer World
showed up, and like he saw Allander and was like, how the fuck did you do that? Not like, because he's actually, very well-mannered and I'm over-exaggerating, but he's like, how the hell did you do that fade? Because you can't tell, but she fades from like white to light pink to dark pink to kind of a purple. She looks better in person.
All women do. Throw some photos up on Twitter. I'll redirect folks to your Twitter in the comments down below this video, and they can check it out. I've seen the errant photo every now and then of it, and it looks like you got the snow bases there, which I think is really really cool. For those of you just in pure audio, look for the links in the description. But you have like the pops of red and stuff on that snow base. Plus you have that. Go ahead.
Well, I just like it. It's poetic because they don't leave anything behind except the blood of their enemies. Because they can go underground, they can disappear. They're ghosts. Mm-hmm. So they come out, myrtleize, and then they go away.
Yeah, Kicker. I would love to see some photos on Twitter. Yeah, I think everyone in Chat Gang would love to see some photos of this army. So
I don't know if Jared's in it, but he might be able to post some. He has a bajillion on his Instagram. I actually won a painting competition with her.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's also got a fuck ton of glitter, like metric fuck ton of glitter. All of my Night Haunt, dude, they're my glitter bomb murder squad.
Jared has been summoned.
He's coming and taking a picture. Yep. Babu is asleep, so.
No, she's
not. Oh, never mind. She angry.
Amazing. So get your spouse into Warhammer. I actually talked to Michael Davis was on the show. Oh gosh, I think it's been about a year ago. MMA fighter from Canada. Not to be confused with Mike Davis, also an MMA fighter. He was on the show and he talked about like sort of getting his spouse in and stuff like that. And I just wonder if that's just like Molly is not a nerd. A little bit of opposites attract. Should say she is not a tabletop nerd. She has her nerdiness. She loves trash TV shows and stuff like that. Like, like hate watching is something she can do. I'm like, I don't.
Vampire Diaries or something.
Yeah. I'm like, how do you? And she's like, oh, it's so bad. Like she's got her nerdiness. We've got places where we align card games and board games and stuff like that. So I'm trying to find that magic board game that gets her to come and finally play like Age of Sigmar with me. But I'll crack the code. But like, your artistic aptitude is your skill in art is pronounced. I've been in your stream a couple times here on Twitch. Tulilia, link in chat. Go follow her right now. You were drawing actually. Fire Slayer, I think, was the first show of yours I caught, and
He's my soulbound character.
Yeah, that's your soulbound character. Right on.
Yeah.
That was awesome. It was so the detail and the just like the form of it all, and your line work is really solid. So I thought it was really cool. I've seen some of your like errant photos of your army, whether it's Jared sharing it or coming across my feed in Twitter, and it's pretty stunning. So is Warhammer kind of like the place where like you get to put together a lot of these other pieces, like like the art and the you talk about the therapy of drawing and stuff like that. Is there an appeal there, do you think?
Yes. No, Warhammer kind of, I guess, marries a lot of my interests, because I have interest in playing dice games. I have interest in lore and deep world information. Because like I said, you have these battle tones of all this cool information about these armies that helps you fall in love with them. And then you have the thematic, like, all right, so the other day, Jared was humoring me, my beast, my menagerie. He was like, here, babe, here's the 6 giant fucking murder dragons that you wanted when you first started playing. I was like, hell yeah. So we were having a battle with those, and what were you playing against me?
Ogres, I think.
He was playing Ogres. So you close your eyes for a second and you view the battlefield as you might in like Total War. So you can watch this really cool battle unfold mentally, which is a thing I do a lot. And that's something I really enjoy. So, every turn is different. You're almost watching this thematic, like explosions, Michael Bay movie, but on the table with all of these cool ass models. And then I get to draw about them, or I get to write like little fanfics about them, or whatever the case is. Those I don't really post often, just because, I don't know, writing is something I love tidbits, but I'm not as confident about, I guess. But, you write fanfics, you draw photos of it, you play it. There's people that you can talk to that are also introverts that don't want too much stimulation that you can hang out with. Or, there's a bunch of stuff on here, like your podcast and other people's podcasts and all this other stuff, or like, whatever you call it. There's just this huge, nice community. I don't know. It does marry a lot of my interests, and it's this nice, cute little package.
Yeah. Awesome. And so the Glitter Bomb Murder Squad, that's your night haunt?
That's my night haunt. Yeah, they have been glitterified. My Fire Slayers are actually like gem monstrosities. I cut up the dragons and like made them these crystallized behemoths of ick. They're like amethyst. And then I don't know. Let's see. I have the flesh eater courts, but I think they're just going to be normal. Like they're going to be gross looking.
I saw the beginning. It looks like the development of it. You got a bunch of dragons there, and
and some of them were already painted, so it's hard to make your own thing but they look good that way. I don't know. Like I can't even imagine altering them. Like they should look rotted and gross because their lore is super cool.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're probably one of my favorites.
I think Flesh Eater Courts have, I've said it before, I think they have some of the best fluff, just in terms of the sort of totality of the narrative and the flavor of the army. I think it's some of the best in all of Age of Sigmar.
The answers where the Bretonnians went.
It does.
There's that added thing. It's like, where'd they go? Let me tell you.
Well, don't say it too loud. We'll get added here on Twitter.
Oh.
Kai Leonis will like just show up and charge my comment section. Love you, Kai, buddy. No, hey, Bretonnians are still alive in the Blood Bowl 3 legacy PDF. It's okay. Yeah. They're still there. So, they exist.
Gorgeous.
They're pretty cool. I don't know. It's I watched a lot of Monty Python around the time I was getting into Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and I can never, because they have the bucket, they have the pretty there's some sculpts with a pretty classic bucket helm, and I could never take them seriously, because like like I love fantasy and stuff like that, but it was, I don't know, I saw one model and it looked exactly like the Black Knight, and I'm like, I could never take you seriously now.
All I hear is the Black Knight or the Knights Who Say Knee, or yes, they're outrageous French accents. That makes me hurt physically, because my French teacher was from France, so every time I hear the bad French accent, I'm like,
yeah, no, now go away, or I shall taunt you a second time.
Yeah.
Like that freaking scene, man. I made speaking of, we mentioned Soulbound a little bit there. I run a Soulbound game every Friday. It's not every Friday.
Yeah, I actually watched some of those.
Thank you. Yeah.
Very entertaining.
Yeah. Awesome. I don't know. I'm very insecure about Soulbound, more so than I am this show. With the Soulbound thing, because there's, maybe it's you're talking about, like, you're kind of, I don't want to say insecure, but like not as confident. Insecurity and lack of confidence, I think, are two different things.
They are.
But I'm not as confident in showing a tabletop RPG, because I feel like tabletop RPGs are more intimate.
Yes.
You know, like a conversation a conversation is a very personal thing, but a conversation framed while I'm talking about community, and like, you know, we have like a common parlance. We know sort of what we wish to talk about tonight. We're, you know, if we stumble upon some tangents, it's part of the natural conversation of things. Mm-hmm. With an RPG, because it is sort of a game and it's improv acting, it's storytelling, there's it just gets a little bit more intimate, and so it feels a little bit like, I don't know how the audience is going to take some of this stuff, because like I say this thing for this player, or I say that for that player, and it's really it's not as direct, and so I feel a little bit more, I lack a little bit more confidence in that show. And I made a Monty Python joke, just didn't even, like, I didn't do the self-aware thing where I look at the camera. I didn't do the thing where I use it as a
thing.
I didn't do it was the obvious, I just made the obvious joke, and I felt like trash for making the obvious joke, because like there was a hallucination scene, and I'm like, like you see the face of Sigmar, what shall I do for you? I require a shrubbery. And I just deadpanned it through the scene, and I'm like, everyone's going to hate that. And like, I just instantly, as I said it, because I was just in improv mode, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like I defaulted to 14-year-old Andrew 21 years ago shrubbery joke. I'm like, oof. Like,
No, but I think that's great, though, because you can take all these different eras and put them in there. Like, I don't know, for instance, like my first D&D was really awkward, like you said, because you're kind of like, if you're not comfortable with this is kind of an intimate thing among the group that you're playing with, and with your Sigmar stuff or your Soulbound, it's not intimate with these people, it's with this whole community. But like D&D was very awkward for me, because I was like, how do I bring down my walls and get over the fact that I'm insecure about, basically, because like I was in theater, I acted or whatever, you know, took acting classes in high school and was part of that community. But it's different when you're with this small group and then this new little thing. It's like, to let all of these walls down.
There's no place to hide when you're
exactly.
There's no. I mean, if it's the first barrier when you get into a tabletop RPG is, what can I do? I feel like that's one of the hardest things when you're like, okay, I've read the rules.
Yes.
But then like you're talking to even if you have a great GM, you still have this like thing where you're like, but what do I do, or what can I do? And you're like,
how do I execute what I know?
Yeah, or like, how do I interact with this? And like, you have some people who just like, they show up and they just like start talking immediately. Okay, I do this, and like, but for other people, it's so difficult, especially when you're like me, and I'm like, you can do anything, and then you're just like, that doesn't help me. Like, wait a minute, like that doesn't. But how do I do anything? Like, do I roll a die? Do I? And so there's that barrier, I guess. Was that your experience, or I mean, we talked about the wall thing. Like, what was the hard part? I mean, obviously the letting down your walls a little bit, and that sort of that group setting, that the intimacy of all that. What was that hard? Was that the hardest part, or was there something else that was like a barrier? I'm wondering.
Well, I'm awkward. very socially awkward. Like I try to be polite, I try to be nice, and sometimes that punches me right in the fucking mouth.
Mhm.
Like, let me just tangent real quick here.
Welcome to RantCast, yeah.
Yeah, no, this is a little bit shameful, but it explains me very well. So my husband once had a boss, sort of a boss, and I had only heard stories of this boss, and he was a very materialistic, very metrosexual kind of guy. And I met him in real life and it wasn't just husband stories, it was also, coworker stories, and it was all this other stuff. So I finally meet the guy, and my opening line was, "Wow, you're not nearly as much of a douche bro as I thought you'd be."
Mm.
And everybody else in here is cringing because they should. That's a horrible thing to say. I thought it was a compliment.
Mm.
So he goes, "Excuse me?" And I thought he meant for clarification. So I go, "Douche bro." I was like, douche bro, like the metrosexual guy with the weird, and he starts walking away.
Yeah, like the Dane Cook, right? Like the
And I was so heartbroken. I had insulted him. I had ruined his day. I had no idea what I'd done wrong. Like, I was, in theory, it all went really well in my head. In practice,
I just have to clarify here. She didn't say nearly that much. She just said, "Oh, you don't look like a douche."
no, I said,
That was it.
I said you're not nearly as much of a douche bro as I thought you'd be.
yeah.
It was bad, and I felt so terrible. And eventually, it turned out he really was that much of an a-hole. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I wasn't that much of a jackass. But so my problem is, like, my character, I write them very well. I create these people, and they're real live breathing people, because that's what I do. Like, I write. I don't just draw. I write. And trying to bring that person to life, do them justice, while also getting over my weird ass, I don't even know, it's almost like fucking vomiting diarrhea. Like, just, I'm awful at talking. It's like getting over that and then bringing these characters to life was my biggest problem, because I'm like, these characters would say this, or they would do this in this interaction, but then it's like, how do I come across that way? Like,
Do you tend to make characters that are like you, or in versions of yourself more?
my first character was definitely a lot like me.
Okay.
Very anti-paladin, very much like, the rules go this way. We follow the rules. She believed what she was doing was good. I mean, her patron deity was Asmodeus, but she didn't know he was bad.
Asmodeus.
Yeah,
From the freaking Redwall cartoon.
Oh my
the snake.
god. Redwall.
He was
I
like,
love that.
Oh, it was going to be the first book I read to my kids, but it ended up being Grimm's Fairy Tales instead. But
Well, good.
but I just remember the cartoon, the Asmodeus, and I had I was reading Redwall as the PBS show was coming out, or as it was airing for me anyway. And I remember that voice, and so when I read every time I'd read the line in the book where like the snakes come, I'd be like, Asmodeus, and I'd say it out loud, and it was super awkward because I was middle school, and so I'd be like reading it, and I'm just in the corner saying Asmodeus. Yeah, nerd. I'm sorry. I mean, so you said you started out, you kind of made extensions of yourself, the worship Asmodeus or Asmodeus, or whatever pronunciation.
However you want to, yeah.
However you want to. Yeah.
Well, and then unfortunately that campaign kind of went, sideways. I don't entirely know why, but
was this 4th edition, 5th edition, 3rd edition, 3.5 Pathfinder? Where about was that?
I think it was 5th.
5th? Okay.
Yeah, we had made a campaign in 2.5, but we never got around to being able to play that one, just because our DM was kind of a flake. But so I played for the most of my experience comes from 5.0, which is, I think, pretty solid. Like, I know that other people, there's differing opinions, which is fine.
No, they're wrong if they don't like 5e. Don't get me wrong. Like, my first experience was with AD&D, or what I think you're calling 2.5. Like, that was kind of my first experience. That's the THACO and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't stick. I played it like once or twice. I played the elf class because elf was a class back then. Wherever it was, maybe it was actually first or second. I don't remember. I played an elf, and It didn't really stick. I didn't get back into RPGs until 6th grade, when I played TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles RPG by Palladium Books. And
That's
then, oh, so good. It's so 80s though. Like it's beautiful. But yeah, TMNT, you have Bio-E, you like build your mutant with bioenergy points, and like
that's so cool.
I had a mutant weasel. Well, it was a mutant ferret, but it wasn't allowed. Ferret isn't in there, so I had to use a weasel and then say it was a ferret. Which
Ferrets
is
are the bomb.
Yeah, I big into Beastmaster with Kodo and Podo. Like, bow now. Shout out to Beastmaster. So I made a mutant weasel ninja, and that was for me. That was like I got into RPGs there, and then from there it was a thing. But I came back around to D&D essentially in college with 3.0. So I have very fond memories. I love 3.0, but 3.0 is the Baron's chat of Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh dear.
You want to experience it because you will be different, but 5th edition is, I think, their most comprehensive, sort of best balance of the game in its entirety. They actually, like, this is minutia I just recently found out from Vince Venturella of all humans, that they actually hired essentially layout design gurus to lay out that book to be more appealing to women. Action.
Really?
Yeah. So they actually psychological profiling of where our eyes naturally gravitate to. Goes back to classic like hunter gatherer versus yada yada yada. They actually laid out the book differently than previous editions, and they put a lot of care into making it just more approachable. I think for women and such like that. They've for a long time done female pronouns in their like 3rd edition had, instead of he or them or whatever, they did her and she. So they've always had an eye towards that sort of thing. And 4th edition for me was the game to get WoW nerds to play Dungeons and Dragons. Mm-hmm. So 4th edition gets like kind of maligned because it's not Dungeons and Dragons, but it's a very good tabletop game that will read like a video game to get you like into that realm. And then 5th ed just kind of
really cool.
5th edition brings it all together though. And so I don't like that all the saber dies are gone except for one. There's two. But because I'm a DM, I want my saber dies. I want Finger of Death to murder the thing when I point at it. Like, come on, you can't. But anyway, I digress. Some people hate that. But 5th edition, people are wrong if they hate that edition. They're just wrong. Like I get it. I jumped onto 3.5 or Pathfinder when 4th edition came out because that was, for me, it felt more like Babby's first RPG because I was an elitist and a prick back then. But I've come around to 4th.
You got better.
I got better. I got better.
Yeah, I got better.
I got better.
We do that all the time at the house. Like, I got better.
Got better. Yeah. So you again, bring it all the way back. I love letting my RPG nerd flag fly a little too hard this episode. Kicker, my first RPG was Star Wars by West End Games. Is that the D6 one? Because I only know Star Wars by the dice it used, and the D6 one was bomb. It was the bomb. She turned me into a newt. A newt. Got better. Oh, so good. I can't. Man, I think it's time for a Monty Python rewatch.
Yeah, I've actually so I was sheltered as a kid. Obviously, I didn't know what Monty Python was until I was mid-20s. So every day, my husband and his mother are both like, "You haven't seen that?" And I'm like, "You know me. It's been 10 years." And they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. We need to watch this." I'm like, "Yes, let's please do that." Because, now I know what Monty Python is. Now I know, there were so many things I had no idea. I was like, I lived most of my life without these gyms. This is awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just to kind of bring this back. So your original, your anti-paladin, I guess, that was the first character.
She was technically paladin, but yeah.
Well, anti-hero paladin, maybe. Is that yeah, right.
Yeah,
on.
That's a better way.
Yeah, right on. So basically Wolverine.
Oh, kind of, yes. She had a definite chip on her shoulder, but not one that was unearned.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Wolverine has, I think, because the morality of our universe has shifted, he is no longer an anti-paladin or an anti-hero. He is just a goddamn hero now, which is what makes him so much cooler. It also makes Superman and Captain America even cooler because it's way harder to be Boy Scouts right now than it ever has been.
Yeah.
But that makes them awesome. Sorry, comic book tangent. I'm just feeling insecure about like not knowing what the furfinity was earlier, so now I have to be like
affinity.
Fur affinity.
So yes, it's deviant art, but for furries.
So I just have to be like, see, I'm still a nerd, everybody. I still know about all these. No, I'm kidding. It's the wine. But so you did that. So about in sort of progressing your RPG character, and I'm asking because I wonder if playing RPGs has helped you socially, or you've had to explore like your social interactions. Have RPGs done that? Have you played like that full inversion of yourself, where like this is a character that's totally not me?
Yes, actually, my gnome bard, Tulls. She had like 50 names, but ultimately, whipping out 8, because forest gnomes get a name for basically anybody who's in the room, and I took that to heart. So she had like 8 full names and then her final name, and people were like, "That's way too fucking long," and I was like, "You're right, but I'm gonna say it every time." And they're like, "Please don't," and I was like, "No, we're gonna do this."
It's like a pimp named Slickback or a Tribe Called Quest. You say the whole thing every time.
Yes, every time. It's like, "Hi, my name is," every time. And it's like, "What was that?" "Oh, okay, let me repeat that in full for you with theatric flair." I was like, eventually people were like, "All right, but like we only have 2 hours to D&D, so can we maybe come up with a nickname?" And I was like, "All right, that's fine." But I have a picture of her somewhere, but she's ultimately not me.
Was it one of those like, okay, we're gonna use the abbreviation like metagame a little bit, like I'm gonna use the abbreviation, the nickname, but I want you to know every time I say this in character.
Yes. Well, and it's funny because like Jared tells me this. I don't know if you've watched Gravity Falls. It's an adorable 2-season. It's a lot like My Little Pony in a sense that it's a cartoon, but it has a lot for adults. Gravity Falls, look it up. Mabel Pines is one of the main characters. She's a twin of Dipper, and she's just the funniest, most uninhibited individual. And I can be Mabel Pines and not have any issues. Like, that's a full part of my personality, while also being this really introverted individual. Like, I don't know, you're not just your box. You're not just like one thing. You can be multiple things at the same time, because nobody is just their labels, and I hate that so much. That people are like, "Well, I'm this," and I'm like, "That is not all you. Shut up." But so like I can be this really boisterous happy person, or I could be this really stoic asshole, and it like all of them are me. So I don't know that there is like this specifically not me, but I intentionally went out of my comfort zone with my gnome. I was like, I'm going to do things I didn't do before. I'm going to make sure I get into interactions that I would not normally do. And that does kind of help with real life, because, when you're role playing, you're like, all right, so now I have to adjust on the fly, and you can work that with real people. It's like, all right, I'm in this interaction. I don't want to be in this interaction. I don't know what they're going to do. But now all of a sudden you're kind of a theatric individual in a sense that you can react to what they're doing in a socially acceptable way. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm kind of pretending to be a basic human. I mean, this human suit is kind of itchy, but like, you think I'm a normal person, and that's great, because then I can get this over with faster and move on to something that's actually fun.
See,
so that does help.
I swear this is why I picked up liking sports, is for that reason. I had that when you're young and you're not in a box yet, when you that age, like I don't think you get put in a box until about middle school. At least that was my journey. When I was young, we all did everything. It was all fun. We all played with G.I. Joes and TMNT. We all watched cartoons that we didn't know were anime back then, but turned out to be like Robotech / Macross. Like, I'm a little bit older than you, so probably a little bit different. We all did that. We all played soccer at recess, or Foursquare was the shit. Like, that was. And then as you got older, people started stuffing you in the box.
Yeah.
And the older you got, and it just. I'm only now, we're talking like these last 2 years, been comfortable with kind of jettisoning that just crap from my life, because I'm kind of tired of the barriers we place between ourselves and others, the lack of
Mm-hmm.
compassion, the lack of, you know, like I could be different from you or disagree with you and still like you and still respect you. And like, I'm like, you know, the labels, I mean, but I picked up sports and liking sports so that I had like a universal dialogue because I was awkward. You know, when
Yeah.
I had like a couple things I could talk about. And if we ever got outside of that, I couldn't
It's
talk
just like,
anymore. Yep. I'm just like quiet and just staring at you intensely because I'm socially awkward. Or,
like I want so badly to relate to you as another human, but I have nothing to give you.
well, I mean that's the, and like you would see my eyes do like the scientist thing where like I start looking at you like you're a rat in a tube and I'm studying you because like I'm just like looking, and that I guess that people don't like that, and so I had to like learn to be better at social in a very INTJ which manner, which is, you know, astrology for nerds. You know, the intense. I'm very like I'm thinking and judging you in every social situation, and I have to actively disengage that part of my mind because it's just how.
Yeah, you don't connect with people that way. You
Mhm.
learn patterns that way.
Right. Gravity Falls so good. I'm trying to conjure a new glass of wine here.
Just winch.
Yeah.
I mean, I would do that to Jared, but he's got our baby and she's pissed. So
It's adorable. So speaking of actually, like, you have obviously this family, 10 years with Jared, Razor Tree Productions, as some of y'all know, or just Razor Tree, depending on how you're viewing this. Like, how do you get in time to both be nerds and stuff? We kind of talked a little bit about like the introvert, you know, having your you get mommy time. This is it. Like, I'm gonna go park, stare at some trees and birds. Like, how do you like sort of like get in your you know, mutual nerd time and like your individual nerd time? How do you balance that in your life? Because I think that is a struggle for most people right now.
and the quarantine kind of throws a wrench in everybody's thing.
Yeah.
Because like, what the fuck do you do? Like Texas, everybody knows we're a little more liberal about it because we have, you know, whatever the case is. So we see, like, for instance, our family groups, we see them fairly often. Some people full on close only intimate or immediate family bubbles. No, I can't do that. Like, I struggle with depression too hard to entirely close myself off from the few people that will interact with me, no matter whether I'm in a piss poor mood or whatever.
So you have a little bit of a like a, in terms of your sort of like priorities, you're like, okay, yeah, sickness is, my sickness level is a little bit more elevated, potential to get sick or get someone sick, but like literally my depression levels, you know, like I gotta take care of my mental health, and that means I gotta go ahead, continue.
You're right. Like, in COVID, I'm one of the high risk groups. I have really bad heart troubles. I have very bad asthma. It attacks your lungs and your, you know,
Respiratory. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm in a high risk group, but like, I lived depression so bad that I tried to kill myself. Like, I have scars that will never, like, I guess, gross tangent for a second. Like, you can't go to the OBGYN and have to, you know, get rid of all of your shame and not have doctors look at you funny. Like, wow, you're a fucking psycho. It's like, no, you're wrong. I don't know. Like, I've been there where life meant nothing. Nothing felt good. Food tasted like ash. And that's not a place I want to be ever again. It's worse than death because it's like, you know, you wake up and there's joy and everybody else is enjoying life. And what's wrong with me? Why can't I do that? Why am I not a normal person that can feel joy? And that's worse than death, in my opinion. Like, the people that kill themselves from suicide are tragic, upsetting individuals, and, you know, God find mercy on their souls, just because maybe in another life they'll be better or happier or something. But like,
Yeah.
It's horrible. So it's like, okay, I do have high risk. We live with my husband's 91-year-old grandfather, and even he's like, I can't. I've lived through the Spanish flu, and this is worse. Like, this quarantine, you don't see people, you don't interact with people, you kind of forget how to be human, even to some extent. Like, you can't interact outside your bubbles, which is terribly sad. But, you know, I guess, yes, I do value mental health almost as much as I value physical health, because like, what are you without one or the other?
Well, I mean, this is a big talking point. I'm actually wearing one of my Mental Health America shirts right now, which is a bunch of tiny text. I've long since taken the stance of mental health visibility, so I appreciate you sharing that with me. It's hard. I mean, it's so hard, and we were talking about a little bit earlier, just normalizing depression. You know, I've depression, anxiety, and I have a dissociative tendency, which is
Yes.
fun.
Woo!
It's also so what is it, DSD or DMD? I can't remember what it is. So there's multiple personalities is a dissociative disorder. I do not have multiple personalities. So when I even say I have a dissociative tendency or I have dissociation problems, if anyone is up on the lingo, they're like, oh, he has multiple personalities or he's bipolar. I'm like, no. My dissociative tendency is also known as like the matrix effects, the matrix effect, or well, that's the best way I can put it, where you feel like you're it's essentially like we all possess this ability to disassociate, which is like in the hunter-gatherer sense, in the back in the cave time, things would be too stressful and we would sort of your brain disconnects you from essentially your body in that moment, and you feel like you're watching yourself because the fear, or in that primal sense, is too great for you to kind of cope with. So it's this defense mechanism we have. Mine is super heightened. So when I get stressed out in life or my anxiety levels get really high, I completely disassociate. I disconnect from my self and I feel like I'm in the matrix. Like reality for me, and you had an insomnia where I'm already like, woo, I'm always like one more day of not sleeping away from having tricks of light and like minor hallucinations. Like I'm always just like one day away from that. And I think you mentioned you're an insomniac, and
yeah, like it's actually kind of nice. My eyes are better, but like I've been having such a problem. Like I have permanent eye bags, and then over the last few days, like the inside of my eyes were so bloodshot they were just red.
yeah.
It's like I can't sleep. So what do? I have a small baby. My kids wake up at the ass crack of dawn to go to school, and I'm like, well, no sleep.
Does it feel like a superpower sometimes? That
Being
you're
a mom?
No, well, yeah, obviously being a mom. I meant it's insomnia, but answer either question.
Yeah. I mean, it's like one of those things where you're like, woohoo, I have all this time to like be anxious.
And you get a sludge. You become sludge.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like,
I have
if
four.
I get...
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, it's like I don't get sleep, and I have a problem with like the same. I guess it's the same thing you do, where I just like nothing matters, and I'm like, why am I doing any of this? But like, if I don't sleep enough, it gets to that point. I'm like, I can't do that because I have 3 human beings that need me to do this. I have to be the supportive wife. I have to be kind of a sort of caregiver to an elderly individual. I'm like, I can't be that way. You have to take care of yourself.
Right. Well, when you talked about like you see others like feeling joy, you know, I feel it. That's what kind of reminded me of this. The last couple times I haven't talked to a professional in a long time, and COVID's made it even harder. I know there's resources online. I should probably practice what I preach a lot better and look into some of them and have a Zoom call with a psychologist or something. But the thing they were like talking to me about was like the disassociation and stuff like that. And watching people feel happy about stuff where like I'm just like, I don't feel that right now, and then you have that part where my body like pulls away, or my mind and my body separate, and I'm just like sitting there like, I don't feel happy and nothing brings me this happiness, and I look at everybody else going, I'm happy right now. And like watching people it happened real bad at the beginning of the year. Maybe COVID was a factor. Maybe it was just my normal cycle. But I watched people getting excited about every release that was about to come out for Warhammer, and people getting excited about the next Star Wars movie, and people getting excited about The Mandalorian on Disney, and I watched people just getting excited about a bunch of stuff. And I was just like, and I honestly looked around and I'm like, I know that I'm capable of excitement. I feel excitement about various things. And then like in this moment, was an extended period of time, it was several weeks. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not excited about literally anything. And then watching other people feel that excitement and feeling completely and utterly outside my body and just watching it all and feeling less than human because I'm not able to get happy that the movie's coming out. Things that I love Warhammer. You know, I'm like, oh, I can't wait for the next Warhammer thing. And then I'm just like, why don't you feel excited right now? I'm like, you know, like, work.
Yes, it's like you were human, like humans get excited over this. Your fellow humans are doing this.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't have any advice for anybody, but I do want to say that you're not alone. Obviously, we got two folks here kind of sharing some of their personal journey. And so you're not alone. And that's, I think, one of the worst human emotions is just loneliness.
Mm-hmm. There's a saying of like, you're born alone and you'll die alone. And I fucking hate that. It's like, that's not true. Like in your last moments, maybe, but like every moment in between that, you are not alone. Like, to some extent, there is always somebody there.
If who knows, who knows really, you know, until you go through it, right? But they say your life flashes before your eyes, then you're seeing all the people you were with. I would believe. Shaky Graves from Austin, Texas, one of my absolute favorite musicians. He has a song called Roll the Bones. And in it, he says, in the end, they say we die alone, but I say who really knows? And, you know...
That's simple and profound.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's like, try to forget all your enemies and regrets. They'll just leave you broken and chasing sour dreams, something like that. I'll look up the lyrics in a minute, but it's a beautiful... It's one of those songs I listen to feel better. And it's just because he's just yeah, so it goes. That sweet heirloom, them abbey stones. Oh, take a chance and roll the bones. Cut off your hair, unplug your phone. Yeah,
I just that.
Yeah. Yeah, and sell your belongings, all your clever drawings. Try to make $1 from the grave, but who's to blame? Well, so it goes, yeah, so it goes. Them city boys in country clothes. Oh, take the chance and roll the bones. Go crash your car, burn down your home. Try to forget all your enemies and debts. Try to forget all them enemies and debts. They'll just chase you around and give you sour dreams. Yeah, so it seems. So struggle all you like. You put up the good fight. They say someday everybody dies alone. Yeah, struggle all you like. Put up the good fight. They say someday everybody dies alone. But hey, who knows? Yeah, hey, who knows? Who really knows? And it's like it's just...
Yes.
Like, it's just like, for me, it's like a song about like kind of letting go of the anxiety. For me, it like letting go of the anxiety. I love, as I am an artist, I like the idea of, I don't know, it's just so yeah, I think it's a beautiful song. It's pretty great. Look it up on the internet. I can't play it for you because I will get TOS'd and told to take down my video. But try to forget all your enemies and debts, and just, I don't know, letting the other stuff weigh on you when there's so much already to weigh on you. Like you're a mom, you're a wife, you're a content creator now. Like
soon to be an author, hopefully. Cause got a whole bunch of trash here.
Look at that.
That's a book.
Yeah, there you go.
Hopefully someday soon. I say as I scribble and do everything but
is
write.
Is it finished?
It's in... So, okay, I'm an asshole where I have to have it. I'm a perfectionist, but also crippled by anxiety and fear of like releasing it and it being hated. So I edit it and edit it, even though there are people that do that. That's their job. That's the whole thing that they do. Is it
finished though? Like you're on a rework or re-edit?
It's just needing like a final round of editing.
Okay.
My editing, and then I'll send it off to an editor because like I said, I love the English language. It's beautiful, and there's, we have so many words for so many cool things. And quick tangent, I fight anxiety with the power of positivity. So like if you can muster it, you can manage to, get yourself a little bit further, like find that silver lining. But quick tangent aside, it's like I have to be perfect. It has to be perfect before I send it off. So, it'll be done soon. I'll be comfortable with sending it off soon.
Okay. See, that's awesome. If you got a beginning, middle, and an end, you've already the hardest part of writing anything. And this is, I've got 2 published stories, so I'm an authority, and a bunch of like fucking articles and shit that no one will ever read. I can't give away my stories, so like I have all kinds of like shit I'm fighting inside when it comes to me as a writer. I did last year I did a poetry anthology called 1,000 Bad Words, like, and so it's just 1,000 bad words. The total word count in it, not including the title and the foreword and stuff like that, is 1,000. So I found a collection of my poems that, if I put them together, equaled 1,000 words. Because I write, you said you write when you're angry. I write when I'm angry, depressed. Like, I don't write when I'm whimsical and happy. Like, in terms of poetry, I write silly stories and stuff when I'm happy and tell like weird RPGs with Monty Python jokes. But when poetry is there for when I just like, I've got the bad words in me. You got to get them. You got to get them out. You got to put them on the paper, because the paper is a prison. And if they're not in me and they're on the paper, then the bad stuff is in prison, and then I can move on. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. The hardest part of writing is finishing. That's the hardest part from my experience, and it sounds like you are basically finished. So you're already there, my friend.
Well, the issue is not like, I also have problems with ADD in terms of writing. So what I do is roughly the same as you, where I have these note cards, and you can't read it basically, but it says writing prompt. So I get a million new story ideas, but like just the bare bones. So I write it down on this, and I put it my desk is over there. You can't see it at all. Not this one in the back. That's Winston's. Right over there is my whole.
Are they on your wall?
They're not. They're in a. I have pictures of all the people that I know that I love and that I like live for on my wall, like all my nieces and nephews, my kids, and But I have a little desk of like random shit. Mm-hmm. It's like healing stones or whatever, because I do believe that the earth has energy. My lava lamp, because why wouldn't you have a lava lamp? Those things are fucking awesome.
I'm failing.
But there's this box. You are failing. I want a ceiling to floor one, and I want it in blue. Like, if somebody can design me a full on, anyway. But there's a box.
That's at Tulilia1 on Twitter. If you can design a floor to ceiling blue lava lamp.
Yeah, I mean, I could design it, build it for me. But yeah, there's a box. It's like my prison, where I put these in there, and then I forget about them, and I don't have to deal with them until I want to write another story, and then there's my writing prompt. Let's bring it out. Okay, there's my story. Like, this one's trash because some of them I like. I'm a woman. I like romance. So some of them are dirty romance stories, but mostly they're cool, like with mages and wizards and fighting and orcs.
I say the dirty erotica is better with wizards and werewolves and shit. So just lean in. Dude. Yeah.
I mean, and really, you just take out some of the scenes and bam, it's like a cool action series. But anyway,
come on. Like, I think about like the Frank Frazetta like cover. Like, Dragonlance was basically a romance novel. It just like it the way it was written, like the way Cardamon was written, to just like, you're just cutting out the out the sex, and like, but otherwise it's a romance novel. I don't know. I used to have opinions on stuff like harshing. I still use E.L. James as a motivator, because I've read the first 50 Shades of Grey for a couple chapters, because I used to work at a bookstore, and like you mentioned with the comic book stuff, I had to know what I was selling, so I would read the stuff to sell it. So I read Twilight, the whole first book, actually.
My friend tricked me into reading that, and I read it.
It really agitated me how many times Edward Cullen's eyes were described as smoldering. Find a different adjective. Here's a thesaurus. I will buy you one. So that bothered me. Yep. But that's all I remember from it. But E.L. James,
the keyword is the one I hate. He's perfect. I'm like, no. Use a different word.
Yeah. Like E.L. James with 50 Shades of Grey, and I'm like, I am objectively a better writer than this. God damn it. And just like being mad at myself.
There's your calling. Meth, there's your calling. Write porn.
There, maybe.
Dirty porn. If you're a better writer and you can get ladies hotter than him and you can get all the grannies and whatever wet, then just
Maybe
Into it.
I did write my one Warhammer story, the only Warhammer fan fiction story I've ever written. It's about Catacross defeating a corn prince with his codpiece. Like, so that was like the only is just like, and it was like his opulent cod piece and the perfection stunned the demon in its place, and then we do a scene jump where like the demon like comes to, and like his tower, like, which is made out of bones, because they're coming to collect the tithe, right? They got to get the bones. I mean, the phallic symbolism in that whole army is amazing, but also sort of paradoxically, they're sort of like they can be like without gender, because it's like 12 souls in just a sculpted body. So like super, like, could be super progressive if you want that whole army to be. Start using they them pronouns for everything, because it's 12 souls in a body. Imagine the weird erotica you come up with, like 12 souls that are all sex experts in one body, or whatever the
I mean, the possibilities are endless, really.
Right. So yeah, the cat. I just wrote the one story about how Catacross defeats a demon prince of Khorne with his codpiece, and that was it, because the army wasn't out yet, and like we just saw the statuesque, sculpted by Michelangelo himself, model of Catacross, and I'm just like,
every time he touched his bone. Y'all are gonna kill me. Oh,
every time he touched his bone tithe, his liege writhed in ecstasy.
Okay, so I can't read that. Vanillage sauce. Whoever you are.
Vanilla
I
sauce.
Would read your yes,
yeah.
I would read that.
Yeah.
Write that. I will read it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't try to yuck anyone's yum anymore. I used to. But no, I'm like, yeah, I'm a better writer than this person, and even that comparison is the thief of joy, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that the ultimate thing I landed upon is that E.L. James finished her story. And all these authors out there that struggle with writing and publishing is just finish the thing, edit the thing. If you've got trusted people you workshop with, or editors that can edit the thing, awesome, that helps you. But finish the thing, get it out there, especially in the digital medium. Or the digital era,
Yeah, because you can, like, Amazon Prime has all of those things for like, oh, buy it for $1 and here's your digital version of it. You don't even need a paperback, so you don't have physical evidence of your shame.
Right, exactly. Oh man, I mean, there's this. Speaking of furries, there's something called the Alphaverse. This is a thing, which is like a weird furry erotica thing, and most of it exists only digitally, and it's essentially like fan fiction. It's like just get the stories out there. My plan for my book, once I finally finish it. Oh, hello.
You gotta take that in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm out of stamps.
All right. Yeah, I can get it.
Yeah, imperfect finished is better than perfect never finished. Exactly, vanilla sauce. But like with my plan for my book, once I get it finished, is to do it the old school way initially. Try to shop it around, get it published physically first, and if that fails, because I have stacks upon stacks of rejections for stories I've forgotten I've written. Oh man, I don't even get the automated rejection letters anymore for most of my stuff, which is fantastic. Does wonders for my spirit.
He says carelessly.
Yeah. But I want to do that with, like, when I finish my novel, and I'm going to try it that way. And then when that fails, I'm just going to throw it up into the world for free. That's my plan anyway. Do you, is pretty much, yeah. Just uncover the secret of my channel. Vanilla sauce, you just uncovered the secret of my channel. Exactly. It's how Meph got me to finally do my tactics videos. I did. That's right. That is the advice I gave you, Vanilla sauce. You can always fine-tune it and get better, but it does nothing if it's not out there. C.S. Lewis stole a copy and sent it to the publisher for Tolkien because he was never going to finish it. Oh, I didn't know that. So
They were the best bros, so that's something I totally believe.
That's amazing. I didn't know that. I need that link. Yeah. So yeah, just do the thing. I mean that's my. I mean, it's the Shia LaBeouf. Just do it. That's all it is. But it sounds like you're already on your way, so you don't need me prattling on. That's mostly for chat gang who might maybe get a little bit of a life lesson out of this show.
I mean, a kick in the ass is almost always welcome. So
Yeah. Right. And there we go. So yeah. Man, this is a awesome Warhammer. And is there anything you'd like to sort of, any soapbox moment, any rant you've been holding on to you'd like to get out?
I guess for the most part I've touched on a lot of them, but as y'all know, Razor Tree is generally for ALS. So I guess for my soapbox moment would be more of a soapbox and not so much of a rant. Like I said, the person that got us into this community and therefore us on Meph's channel and all this other stuff has ALS, and he's one of the best friends we could have ever asked for. He's just a gem of a human being. I don't know. He's probably going, man, you guys are fucking. And that's fine because, that's Dave and we love him. But really, guys, like, there's so many diseases out there. The ones you can see and the ones you can't see, like our mental diseases and things that people struggle with. It's like if you could just, like, I guess, I don't know, like the thing that I've been doing is, for a holiday or something, you just donate a little bit because there's a lot of people out there with no hope. And that's just, like I said, it's almost worse than dying, just living without any kind of hope. Like, you see in all these cute fantasy things, like hope for humanity is just the best thing. It can do wonders because it really can. It can move mountains. So I guess just, I don't know, keep that in mind. That there are a lot of people that suffer and you can see it. And not just like mental awareness is very important, but there are also a lot of people that suffer where you can see it and you don't, like, we have all this normalcy for mental problems. I don't want to call them problems, but you know what I mean, like
mental health awareness. Mental health awareness. Yeah.
Like and we're not scared of people because it's becoming normal. It's becoming okay to have them, and it's becoming okay to talk about them and to comfort people with them. And there are a lot of people that it's not okay. Like, you're not going to survive ALS. You're not going to survive. A lot of people don't survive cancer. Like I lost my other mother in January on my mom's birthday to cancer, which is the fucking worst because now it's like, yay, Mom, happy birthday. Sorry that it's the anniversary of your best friend's death and, my other mom's death, my emotional half of a mother. She's gone now.
Yeah, Lulu. Yeah, Lulu and I buried our moms within 7 months of each other. Her mom died, and then I buried mine 7 months later. No, but my mom's thing was like you mentioned the brain and the body. My mom's is the mental health and then the body, and like hers was a long time struggle with substance abuse because of the mental stuff, and so you watched her. But I mean that's neither here nor there. I get what you're saying is like that sort of it's like I don't know, like when people are terminal, I feel like we treat them a little bit like the Walking Dead, and we start to put them out of sight, out of mind.
Yes.
Because it's for us to cope with that, we distance from it. And I don't know if that's the best human behavior
No. Like, even with my other mother, it's like, we knew she had leukemia. And when she got sent home, it's like every time over there, I have like you might be able to hear it. It's a clock. It ticks. It's like every tick is a second less that I have with Dave. Every tick is a second less I had with Cindy. And it's horrifying and it's sad. It's like we don't keep people at arm's length for having mental problems anymore. Don't keep people, I don't know if anybody needs to hear this, like if you're scared of watching death get closer or whatever, but just, I guess, try not to ostracize people that have it. And if you're feeling generous, like a lot of people felt generous for mental health, it's like, if you like us, if you like what we do, you can also consider, like, we have ALS stuff, you can submit to that, or anything you can get behind, anything you can feel passionate about. Like, for instance, my kids are going to grow up and then I have all the time in the world to be, basically I want to be a smart farmer. So like help
that earth energy, right?
Well, no, it's like a biological agricultural zoologist is what I want to do. But I also kind of want to do something with, like, I don't know, science. I sound like an idiot. I write great. But, like, there's a lot of things, like, for instance, the thing that killed Cindy was just one of her chromosomes. Like, there was a weird genetic defect on it. It's like there's so many cool things that they do about, like, removing those. And that's something I could do, is like, you could find the cure for this, find the cure for that. Like I said, I'm very science minded, but I sound like a retard. I'm like, well, or the R word. Sorry, that's not a.
Yeah,
a
no,
nice word
no,
to
we
use.
try to avoid the slurs, but yeah.
Yes. I sound like an idiot. Excuse me. But yeah, so I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying. Just don't push people away, especially those who have short amounts of time with us.
Yeah, no, my buddy Craig had DMD, or Duchenne muscular dystrophy.
Oh.
And that's a death sentence. You usually don't live into your teen. He made it into his teens because probably some experimental steroids, shit we never talked about and stuff I don't know. And I think the hard part on the flip side of it is, like, some people, when they know that they're terminal, they distance from you. And I have no answer, and I have nothing to say about how do you reconnect with those people that stop. I mean, my main thing is to just try to leave the world a better place than you find it, and to try to have compassion for other people and try to connect with humans, as hard as it is. And, don't let hate and fear rule your life. Try not to be willfully ignorant. Ignorance is okay, but once you find out you're ignorant, you correct it. Like, so it's a little bit of a live and a let live thing, but it's a little bit more of try to live better and try to be a part of people's lives more. So it's a little bit of the, you do you, indulge your not safe for work furry sites and all that stuff, but then also, remember we're all humans and none of us have this figured out. Not a single one. And many people think they have it figured out. And
Kudos to them, man.
I'm really envious of them, honestly. Like, having the big questions and having the big problems all solved, I wish I lived in your life. That's awesome for you. I hope that with that you're able to do some really awesome stuff for your fellow human and do some really awesome stuff for yourself and all that. Live, whatever best life you got going on. But man, I don't have that big stuff figured out, and I won't ever pretend to. So I just try to do right by people and stuff.
Yeah, which is something I think everybody could maybe stand to keep a little bit more in mind, especially with all of the weird, tense things going on in the world right now. It's like, it's just love your neighbor. We all hear it. It's one of those cliches for a reason.
Well,
love your neighbor, life gets better.
Love your neighbor, life gets better. I like what Razor Tree says here, what Jared says here. Find a cause that touches you and donate to it. Ours is ALS, so we will be donating to that. And I think there's plenty of great causes out there.
Absolutely.
And you find the ones that I donated to the... Hello, Lulu. What's going on? Yep. They're doing the Child's Play right now. I found I found 10 extra bucks and threw it at that. I'm probably throw something at ALS here. The thing I found I did the MHA drive, and I did a fair fight drive and journalism drive before that. Is you can't by yourself all the time. The world feels so big. By yourself, everything feels so big and so hard, and the weight's there, and that's my anxiety and depression talking. But with enough people helping each other out, you can make a dent. Music, I draw tons of inspiration from music. There's a song by a band called Frightened Rabbit. Scott Hutchinson is no longer with us. He lost his fight with his mental health. I don't know if that's the good way to say it. I don't know how to say it. But he has a song called When Heads Roll Off, and he says, "While I'm alive, I'll make tiny changes to Earth." That's practically my motto these days. So, like, while I'm alive, I'll make tiny changes to Earth. You know, because someday, I think the line is, my head will roll off, someone else's will turn. You know, like when my time runs out, someone else's will start. Like, just,
Yeah.
And so while I'm alive, I'll make tiny changes to Earth. And just like, so just, find something to live for and change and be a part of people's lives, especially those that, especially right now, check in on your friends, check in on.
Yep, because your extrovert friends are not okay right now.
No, they are
You're
not.
introverted. You know how to do this. You are great at this. Help your extrovert friends. They are suffering. Just as one of the many things you could be doing that's so small, but it'll help somebody.
Right. You can make tiny dents. Death to Smoochie. You can't change the world, but you can make a dent. And that's, I don't know. I mean, that's why I do RantCast is I try to talk to nerds and see where like our sort of adjacent lives line up and just unite us via our shared passion, which in this case is Warhammer. It turns out you and I have a passion for writing. I know Jared and I have a huge passion for music in common. He even shared his death metal voice with me, which is fantastic.
He's super good at it. He's my articulate side, as you can tell in chat. Here I ramble, and he's like, "Yeah, by the way, just find a cause." I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I was trying to say."
I run a show called RantCast because I have a similar problem. The words jumble up inside. When I can take time to concentrate and edit and do that stuff, or I can think about the perfect sentence for 1 hour, and then I can write the perfect sentence. But when I'm in the moment, I just like I just kind of stammer through, and I'm kind of making it up as I go along, or making up the connection between the thought that's in my head that I have and the words that I'm trying to express them with. I thank you so much for being on, taking time away from the critters, to be with me, and share your story and your journey, your passion for art and writing and all the nerd things that you've acquired throughout your journey. Learning me something about furries. I appreciate that, because those are subcultures that I just think are utterly fascinating. But it's how do you ask someone about being a furry? You're a furry, right?
Well, I mean, just go on for Affinity. Some of them are very unfriendly. That's the first place I found where labels matter. So straight, white, female, mother are bad to some of them, but the vast majority of them are very helpful, and they are very sweet people, and they'll tell you exactly what furry means and what fursuiting means, or whatever it is you want to know. Because a lot of them are like, "Oh, you don't know, let me tell you the thing." It's like, let me help you. It's like, okay, cool. So if you want, you could just go, "Oh, here's an account on Fur Affinity, find somebody, what is this?"
Oh, no.
And they'll be willing to tell you.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, my fear is Google will remember.
Oh, yeah.
Just a joke.
Do it on one of the other search engines.
Yeah, this is the one time you use Bing, okay? Hop on over to Bing, look into furries with Bing. You'll never use it again. It won't co-opt the rest of your searches forever.
Yes, because if you don't want butt plugs with weird fuzzy tails on them, don't do it on Google. There's your warning.
I'm gonna have to put a content warning on this episode.
I mean, and I'm actually pretty proud of myself. I've been good for this one. Usually I've put my foot in my mouth significantly more.
Oh man. Oh, this is gonna go down as one of the all-time great episodes of RantCast.
I mean, probably not. It'll be a colorful blip at some point, but
Yeah. This is the cult classic of Rantcast episodes in the making. This is the one that only true Rantcast fans would be like.
there you go.
Yo.
You want to go down the rabbit hole? Here it is.
Yeah, we'll have like a secret word at the end, and then we'll just that will become the inside joke, and the secret word will be red, white book microphone, because it's what I see. No, I don't know. No, don't do that. No coded language. That stuff that stuff terrifies me, man. All right. So yeah, real quick, if people want to check out your work on Twitch or on Twitter, how do they get a hold of you? Where do they look for you?
Tulilia in most places. I'm Tulilia for Affinity if you want to delve that way. On Twitter, I think it's Tulilia1. On Twitch, it's just twitch.tv/Tulilia. I mean, I have Facebook, but that's personal and just a bunch of stupid kid photos. So if you want to find me, Twitter or Twitch, really, or for Affinity are my main three.
Okay.
All Tulilia.
Right on. And of course, you can check out your worse half, Razor Tree Productions, on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, and we have he has his site, razortreeproductions.com. And if you want to see, I have a little nook there now. It's razortreeproductions.com/art. Since I do all the art-y stuff.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of your speed drawings are.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. So
that's where all of my speed drawings are. Because I have a YouTube, but it's empty right now because my non-Warhammer stuff will go on there eventually. But I just recently started streaming stuff because I didn't realize people actually wanted to see that.
I think people want interaction, and then they want something that is in their interest or in their sort of adjacent interests, or even you talked about when you were in school, someone standing over your back and watching you draw, and then having that little quiet moment with someone. I think we seek out those quiet moments with each other digitally now. The great ultimate sort of irony of our age is, for as connected as we are at every single moment, I can talk to my friend in Japan right now if I feel like it. And all it takes is the delay for my signal to bounce up into outer freaking space and then bounce down to the other side of the planet and boom, connected. But we still are on these tiny little, as human creatures, little islands now. I'm surrounded by three computer screens, and I've got TVs to the side over here, and I'm just walled in by these digital
technology,
these digital sort of prisons that I exist in. And I think that sort of live content creation, like here on Twitch, I think you're kind of sharing these quiet moments with other people in a way that taps into that human element of being in the same room with someone. That's why I don't have a green screen. I'll never use a green screen, because I want you to realize this is a room that I inhabit, and that, because for me, my favorite moments a lot of time growing up as a nerd was always those little quiet moments of watching my friend play a video game. I didn't have to play with them. I just sat there and watched them, or peeking over someone's shoulder and seeing the art they're drawing and going, "Oh, hey, what are you drawing?" Those little simple moments. And I think that's what Twitch does. And that's why I think people like your show, your channel, and because you're getting that sort of that the closest we can get to with all of the miles and walls of screens that separate us. That's the closest we can get to those quiet human moments. So that's me waxing poetical for a minute. But
and I think that's a great winding down comment, actually.
Yeah.
Like that quiet moments.
Right. So chat gang, thank you so much for being with us tonight. You are the show within the show. You're the reason we do this thing. Tulilia, thank you for being on with me and sharing your journey and your thoughts.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, right on. Go follow her on Twitch, on Twitter. Check out some of her art. And chat gang, remember to drink your milk, pay your taxes. We'll see you next week.